AS3 cash flow statement. So, this accounting standard will be explaining us how to prepare your cash flow statements, which is the part of your financial statements, okay, and whom it is mandatory, whom, how to prepare, what are the methods available, what are the significance of that methods, what you will achieve on adopting any method, and how to present it. So, here recognition, measurement, disclosure, definitions, all will be explained, everything of each terminology used in this standard. So, you will start with the standard. This standard is very important as cash flows is always the part of your financial statements. So, that cash flow which is the part of your financial statement is prepared according to this accounting standard. So, we should know the standard accurately to prepare that cash flow statement. So, we will start with the objective. So, what is the objective of preparing this cash flow statement? So, this helps you to assess the ability of the enterprise as how much the cash and cash equivalents they are seeing. We will come across this definition of cash equivalents later. So, it helps us, it helps the users to assess the ability of the enterprise to generate cash and cash equivalents and the need of the enterprise to utilize those cash flows. So, pure cash movement, we can say in a simple words, in the cash movement of the company we can assess through this cash flow statement. So, when I say cash, it need not be hardcore cash, but the liquidity, liquid cash, the movement of it, from where it is generated, from which activity is generated, and how it is been utilized. We can capture it through the cash flow statement. So, then the scope. The enterprise should prepare a cash flow statement and should present it for each period for which financial statements are presented. So, whenever you are preparing financial statements, cash flows become the part of it and it will cover the same period as it is covered by the balance sheet. Okay. So, it does not depend on the nature of the enterprise activities and all. It is purely period based. It is applicable to those which has been explained in this standards, okay, and willful adoption is always welcome. If it is not mandatory for the company, but still they want to prepare, it is accepted. But whenever you are preparing cash flow statement, it has to be prepared on the basis laid down in this accounting standard. So, what is the benefits? As I said, it helps the users to evaluate the changes in net assets of the enterprise, its financial structures including its liquidity and solvency, and its ability to affect the amount and timing of cash flows in order to adapt to changing circumstances and opportunities. So, it totally gives us the cash movements of the company, from which activity is generating, how it is utilizing, whether they have enough of cash or whether they are raising whatever the requirements, financial requirements from outside, or whether from which area they are getting more cash, how in which from which activities they are generating more cash. This all we can capture through this cash flow statement. So, even when all the companies prepare according to AS3 cash flow statement, it becomes comparable because when standard is laid down and on which everybody are required to be prepared cash flow statement. So, when we have to assess it in the future, we can easily assess two cash flow statements because it is been prepared on the same standards, okay, and all the recognition, measurement, disclosure criteria is clearly given. So, it becomes very easy to understand the cash flow statement. Now, the cash flow is always on the historical information. Means after all the transactions, all the activities, when we prepare P&L balance sheet, that time only cash flow statement is prepared. So cash flow is totally dependent on historical information. Now the definitions. Now we will come across some term called cash and cash equivalent. So cash is pure cash, whatever you have in the hand, and plus they say it's a demand deposits with the bank. Demand deposits with the bank. Cash equivalents means what? Short term, highly liquid investments that are readily convertible into known amounts of cash which are subject to insignificant risks of changes in value. Means these are such type of investments which you are just invested for temporary purpose, and as you want cash you immediately sell it and get it. So it will be less than 3 months or less, which are just invested for the purpose they don't want to keep ample of cash in with them, hard cash. So they just invest it, and whenever they want in the hard cash form, they just immediately sell it and get it immediately. Such type of investments, they are called highly liquid investments, which can be converted into the cash immediately, is called highly liquid investments. So such investments are considered to be cash equivalents. Okay. So these are the cash equivalents which is equal to be considered to be equal to the cash. Okay. So cash and cash equivalents. Cash flows, when they use the term cash flows term, it means inflows and outflows of cash and cash equivalents. Now we will come across 3 type of activities which they will be always classifying. It is operating, investing and financing activities. So what do you mean by operating activity, investing and financing? Operation is the pure activity which the enterprise is conducting during the normal course of business. Means what from which they are generating revenue, from which is their pure business. Like if that company's business is of manufacturing of any item of toys, so on selling the toys, whatever the revenue is generated is their operational activity. Simultaneously they may be investing in some companies or something. These don't become the operating, it is not their normal due course of business, it is just an investing activity. So operations is the pure whatever the business activity the company is indulged in. Okay. Investing is just to supplement their business for the purpose of business. Whatever the investments they may do is called investing activity. And financing is for running this business, whatever the money they are raising, their repayments, they are borrowing and their repayments becomes the financing activity. Okay. So cash and cash equivalents, as I spoke right now, it means the short term cash commitments rather than for investments or other purpose. So these are not type of, though we say short term investments, it's not the investment, it's just that you don't want hard cash in your hand, so you have just invested, and whenever you want immediately you sell that and get the money. So they are highly liquid investments. Okay. So here they have, in the standard itself they have said that an investment normally qualifies as cash equivalent only when it has a short maturity of say 3 months or less from the date of acquisition. So we can consider it is very important because the standard clearly says if it is 3 months or less from the date of acquisition, then you can say it is a short term. Okay, it has a short maturity. So they have given examples also, like if you are saying investments in shares, it's not a short term, but you have invested at the point in that shares, like that shares are preference shares assume, and that preference shares are about to be redeemed in just 2 months, and that time you are investing in preference shares, then it has a life of just 2 months, because after 2 months they are being redeemed, okay, and the existence of preference shares will go away. So you will be maximum holding that shares for 2 months. So this becomes a short term then, okay. So this cash and cash equivalents we have to understand properly, so that we can segregate from our balance sheet what are cash and cash equivalents, because cash and cash equivalents become the opening and closing of your cash flow statement. So whenever we prepare the cash flow statement, our opening balance will be your cash and cash equivalents of the last balance sheet which you have made, and your closing balance will be the this year's balance sheets, all the cash and cash equivalents, and we will be reconciling this both opening and closing, okay, with all the bifurcations, classifications, as whether it is operating, financing or investing activity, okay. So our starting and the end point will be the opening and closing balance of cash and cash equivalents, and we will be reconciling why this opening has reached to this point of closing. We will be reconciling by classifying that movement of cash flows in 3 types of activities. So how will we present a cash flow statement? Cash flow statement for a period is being prepared by classifying all the cash flows during the period in 3 activities: operating, investing and financing activity. As I told at the start, what is the operating activity? Operating activity is that activities through which your cash flows are generated, which is just your money revenue, which is the company's main revenue generating activity, that is an operating activity. So they have given the explanation as the amount of cash flow arising from operating activity is a key indicator of the extent to which the operations of the enterprise has generated sufficient cash flow to maintaining the operating capability of this enterprise. So here it is clearly said, cash flows from operating activities are primarily derived from the principal revenue producing activities, okay. So that will be the deciding factor of your profit and loss. So these are the major your revenue generating activities, operating activities. So they have listed out some examples like cash receipts from sale of goods and rendering of services, cash receipts from royalties, fees, commissions and other revenue. It depends on the nature of the business. If the business is a manufacturing, sale of goods. If the business is of rendering services, the services which it is, the fees they are charging. If it is an institution like tutorials, their main revenue generation will be from the fees. So fees is their operating activity. So we should understand the nature of business to understand what will come under the operating activities. Okay, so if it is a financial institution, their operating activity itself is to give loans, take deposits. So this becomes their operating activity. But if it is a manufacturing company who is manufacturing toys, that is their operating. But they may be borrowing money, they may lend it to someone also. So that doesn't become their operating. Their major operating activity is toy preparation, manufacturing of toy, and they are just one odd doing some lending, borrowing. There may be more transactions also, but that is not their major activity. So that becomes their financing activity. Okay. So we should understand the main nature of business to understand whether it is operating, investing or financing activity of that enterprise. So this is from the standard I am reading, and they have listed out the examples to understand. Like here they have clearly cash flows arising from the purchase and sale of dealing or trading securities are classified as operating activities. Similarly, cash advances and loans made by financial enterprises are usually classified as operating activities since they relate to the main revenue producing activity of that enterprise. As right now I gave you, like financial institutions, If they are doing cash advances and loans, it is their operating activity. Okay. If there is a company which is main activity, whose main activity is to buy and sell securities, trade on the stock exchange, then that is their operating activity. But this manufacturing company is also having one department which is doing buying and selling of shares just for the investment purpose. This will become their investing activity. This is not their major, which is not their main revenue generating activity. Okay, so this is not their operating but an investing activity. Okay, so investing activities. So investing activities are those which, from which means the cash flows are those cash flows which expenditures have been made for resources intended to generate future income and cash flows. These are investing activities. Means these activities are those which you are doing to get in the future some income, okay, and the cash flows to come. So it will be purchase and sale of shares or any assets required, like buying if it's a manufacturing company and they are buying some machinery, it will be their investing, because this machinery will be supplementing their operating activity and this will be helping them in future to generate income. Okay, so this becomes their investing activity. Okay, so they have listed the examples like buying of fixed assets, selling of fixed assets, buying of any share, warrants and debt instruments of other enterprise, and interest in joint ventures. So if you are buying some subsidiary, if you are buying some joint ventures, interest in joint ventures, you are buying some associates, these are all your investing activities. Okay, so any activity, any expenditures intended to generate future income and cash flows which become the part of your investing activity. So first you have to understand the nature of the business and understand that activity. Then you will be able to classify as whether it is operating, investing or financing activity. Okay. And finally is the financing activity. So financing activity is those which is to make the business run, I can say. Like the financing activities is like, now if it is a manufacturing company, they require money for investing in the machinery to run the business, to get the materials for the toys to make. So they require money which they may raise it from the issue of shares, they may borrow it, they may even issue debentures and all, share warrants or something to the general public. So these types of activities or transactions are considered to be the financing activity, because these activities will supply the company with the cash which will help them to undertake operating and investing activities. So the business, if that enterprise business itself is to just take the loans, lend money, then it is their operating. But if it is any other business which they are doing such activities of lending and borrowing for supplementing their normal course of business, then it becomes their financing activity. So the financing activities is useful in predicting claims on future cash flows by providers of funds, both capital and borrowings, to the enterprise. So they have listed the examples like issuing shares, issuing of debentures, repayments, even dividend payments on shares. Like when we issue shares, we have to give them the part of profits, because we have borrowed money from them and that we have invested in the business. We have to share some profits to them and we share it in the form of dividends. So dividends become the part of your financing activity. So now we understood the terminologies which are used and which are the major how we present your cash flow statement. Now how it should look. So how we will present it in the which where we should start it, how it should look is been explained here. So reporting cash flows from operating activities. So there are two methods of reporting it, direct method and indirect method. So we are speaking how to report cash flow from operating activities. So operating activities can be presented in two ways, either direct method or indirect method. In under direct method, you will be taking major classes of gross cash receipts and cash payments that are being disclosed. They are netted off and that net figures are being presented. And in indirect method, we pick up from the P&L your profit and we reconcile it. We adjust it. We adjust it with all non-cash expenditures and we get the figure of cash flow from operating activities. Now it depends on the business enterprise to enterprise as which method they want to adopt, but popular method is indirect method, which you if you pick up any company's cash flow statement you will come across the indirect method. So they have given the benefits, like if you take up the indirect method, like the net cash flow from operating activities may be presented under indirect method by showing the operating revenues and expenses excluding non-cash items disclosed in the statement in P&L. So in indirect method they just pick up the profit or loss shown in your P&L and they adjust it for non-cash expenditure and plus all non-operating activities they net it off from and get the cash flow from operating activity in indirect method. But in direct method they take up all each individual your cash generating and cash payments ledgers and they present that figures, means if we say debtors, creditors are the major, cash receipts and cash payments for example. So you will see what the debtors has been paid during the period and that will be reflecting under direct method. But that is not the same in indirect. Indirect here we pick up the profit and loss accounts profit or loss and we adjust it to find the cash flow from operating activities. So we will be solving the example, that time we will understand in depth, but right now presently understand there is two methods, direct method and indirect method. In indirect method we take the help of P&L, adjust the profit and loss and adjust the profit and loss with non-cash expenditures and incomes and other, and we will net it, remove all the financing and investing activities transactions and get the cash flow from operating activity. This happens under indirect method. Indirect method, in the direct method we will take major in the simple words to say, you will pick up all the ledgers which are debtors, creditors, which are your major cash movement, cash receipts or cash payments, whatever it is, and you will take the amount from it which are being received and paid, and that will be reflecting in your cash flow from operating activities. Okay. Then reporting cash flow from investing and financing activities. So this is simple, as we discussed, just we have to understand which are the transactions which is investing and financing, and that we will list out under that head. Okay. Now which cash flows you can present it on net basis. So netting is not allowed. Normally you should show separately the receipts and payments. It is more acceptable. But netting is allowed in some cases where it will be reflecting like that customer itself receipts and payments is there. Okay, then we can net it off. So the netting of where you can do is been explained here. It has been said that cash receipts and payments on behalf of customers, when the cash flow reflect the activities of the customers rather than those of enterprise. So one customer itself receipts and payments are reflecting. You can net it off and show. Okay. Cash receipts and payments for items in which the turnover is quick, the amounts are large and the maturities are short. Okay, that you can net off. So they have given the examples also. Okay, like funds held for customers by an enterprise, investment enterprise, the acceptance and repayment of the demand deposits by bank, rents collected on behalf or paid over to the owners of properties. These are the okay. And this was, we spoke of netting off in the normal enterprise. Financial enterprise are also allowed to report on net basis in such scenarios, like cash receipts and payments for the acceptance and repayments of deposits with a fixed maturity date, the placement of deposits with and withdrawal of deposits from other financial enterprise, and cash advances and loans made to customers and the repayment of those advances and loans. So, net, in a simple words to say, netting off is allowed when it is not misleading the presentation. Like it should be related to one customer, okay, we can net off. But when it is from one enterprise and to the other enterprise, and we are saying okay, these figures are same, we can net off and show, no, it is not allowed. So it should not mislead, or there should not be wrong information should not be passing from it, then only netting off is allowed. For because this comes on decision, at that scenarios whatever it is, you should judge it and then decide whether it can be presented at net basis or not. Next, foreign currency cash flows. So how to prepare foreign currency cash flows? Then they pointed to AS11. So AS11 how says you have to take that rates and present it. So the effect of changes in exchange rate on cash and cash equivalents held in a foreign currency should be reported as a separate part of reconciliation. So it will become the separate part, effects of changes on cash and cash equivalents, we are saying, not on transactions. Cash and cash equivalents on if there are some if we have a bank account in a foreign any foreign country, so we will be converting it in the on the rate on the closing date, and we will be presenting it in cash and cash equivalent. But the effect of changes, opening and closing, how we will present? It will be present as a separate part of reconciliation, they are saying. Okay, but all these rates, which rate to apply, all this we will have to go to AS11, because AS11 specifically handles the effects of changes in the foreign exchange rate. It means how to convert it and all is been explained in that accounting standard. Okay. Now, here any transactions because of foreign currency involved in it, how the company will report it? It will report in your reporting currency. What is their local currency or it is their reporting currency that they will use. Okay. And their impact, their effect, they will separately disclose it. Any unrealized gains and losses will not be reported, which is not been materialized, which has not happened, that gains and losses we will not report it in cash flows. Okay. However, the effect of exchange rate changes on cash equivalents held or due in a foreign currency is reported in cash flow statement to reconcile. This is speaking of the same thing as spoken here, and this is unrealized gains and losses. Means as the main underlying principle of our accounting is that whatever it's conservatism, like whatever it has happened, of that only we will be bringing. If it is a losses which are really, means we are quite sure it is about to happen losses, then it has been accounted as a contingent liability or so provision. But if it is totally, we can't say, it may happen or may not happen, then we don't make. All such gains and losses are not been recorded. So unrealized gains and losses arising from changes in foreign exchange rates are not cash flows. Okay, they don't become part of cash flow statement, because these becomes the provisions and all. there the cash movements are, actual cash movements were happening, that only will be recorded here. When I say cash, it need not be hardcore cash, cash and cash equivalents. Extraordinary items. The cash flow associated with extraordinary items should be classified as arising from operating, investing and financing activities as appropriate and disclosed separately. So when they say extraordinary items, we have to again understand it from AS5, where they have explained what do you mean by extraordinary items. Interest and dividends. Now interest and dividends, when they speak, where to present, the question comes. So if it is a financial enterprise, when I say financial enterprise means what? It is their main business is to borrow and lend money. So if this financial enterprise is giving dividends, means they are paying dividends on their shares bought by the people. So it is a financial activity. So always dividend payments will be financial activity, because when you pay dividends, when the people have invested in your business, so you are paying them dividends. So it is a financial activity irrespective of any nature of business. Interest paid. Now in case of financial enterprises, interest paid is an operating activity, but for other it will be a financing activity. Similarly, interest and dividend received. If it is a financial enterprise, it is an operating activity. If it is another enterprise, it is their investing activities. Okay. So this all we can understand by scrutinizing your P&L or that ledgers. Now when we say interest payments, these interest payments need not be only expensed out. It can be that interest which has been capitalized also. So any interest expensed or capitalized. When I say expense means we have pushed it to P&L account. We have recorded it into a P&L account. And when I say capitalized, we have added it to the cost of that asset or anything which it is for which we have incurred that. So irrespective whether you have expensed it or capitalized, it will be reflected in your cash flow statement. Accordingly, we will judge which type of activity is that, and accordingly we will present that interest and dividends also. Taxes on income. These are the taxes. So now when the taxes on income, we say for what purpose you are paying that tax. That underlying cash flow we have to scrutinize, and that underlying cash flow is an investing business, operating, investing or financing. Accordingly, the presentation of taxes on cash flow will be made. But if it is not clear, it will be disclosed separately but as an operating activity. Okay. So if we know underlying cash flow on which these taxes are applicable, we will present it according to how the cash flow is presented. But if we don't know, then we will present that taxes under operating activity, but separately, separate line item it will be. Investments in subsidiaries, associates and joint ventures. So if you are making such investment, your reporting will be to the extent of your interaction with that business, like that subsidiary, associate and joint venture. So here they say investor restricts its reporting in cash flow statement to the cash flows between itself and the investee and joint venture, like cash flow relating to dividends and advances. So to that extent only, we will not scrutinize their business and start including all their transactions. That will in consolidation. In separate, we just are concerned cash flow statement. We are just speaking here about the cash flow statement. Here it will be showing only its interaction, its transactions with that business, that only will be recorded in cash flow statement. Acquisition and disposal of subsidiaries and other business units. So such activities are your investing activity, and accordingly you will capture all that and disclose it in your cash flow statement. Non-cash transactions. Non-cash transactions, investing and financing transactions that do not require the use of cash and cash equivalents should be excluded from cash flow statement. So whichever cash flows are not happening, like where their cash is not involved. For examples is like whether when you have acquired something by issuing of your shares, like you acquired one business by issuing the share of your business, okay, then there is no cash involved because you took one business, bought one business, and you gave your shares. There is no movement of cash. So these are non-cash transactions. Okay, if that is non-cash, and they don't become the part of your cash flow statements. Okay, but it will be disclosed in your financial statements, but it doesn't become the part of your cash flow statement. As we are speaking of how to present cash flow statement, it doesn't become part of it, they are saying, but you have to show it somewhere in your financial statements. That disclosure you have to give it. Components of cash and cash equivalents. We discussed what is cash and cash equivalents. What are the components? You have to show it separately. As in cash flow statement, we will take the total figure of all cash and cash equivalents. But what includes in that cash and cash equivalents, their breakup should be shown separately with each item explained with opening and closing reconciliations. Okay, and the disclosure portion. At the end, how to disclose your cash flow statement. The disclosure part is been explained here. So I have explained it throughout the whole statement, whole cash flow when I am explaining. So other disclosures are just they have explained in an enterprise should disclose together with a commentary by management the amount of significant cash and cash equivalent balance held by the enterprise and that are not available for use by it. So each item's disclosure, separate line item, where all I have explained under each head whenever I am explaining. That itself they have said it again in other disclosures part. So I will be explaining one example in the next